Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gents. This is DafubFilm&TV, and I have just watched the last episode of episode 6 of Secret Invasion, and the one thing that could have saved this mini series, because I think we're only getting one season, was if Secret Invasion kind of pulled off is it season 2 of The Mandalorian? I think is the case. Yeah, season 2 of The Mandalorian, where they had this last final big episode, lots of spectacle, maybe a fan favorite or two drop in to save the day, and so on. And instead, what we get is a episode that is, by streaming live action shows standards, short. It's barely 36 minutes, and we get one big action sequence near the end of the episode that is again this weird kind of middle ground CGI job. And by that I mean it's this weird middle ground because the CGI isn't terrible, but it's not good to great either. So it doesn't necessarily look cheap, but it doesn't look good or let alone great either. And considering they spent $200 million or more in this show, that is quite frankly bonkers. Again, as I said in multiple episode reviews, once I found out exactly how much or more they've actually spent making this, I can't for the life of me think where the money went. It doesn't have the action slash spectacle that you would expect. I mean, again, the show was made for the upper end of an MCU movie budget, which is usually around $250 million. And yes, there's more time on screen, obviously, although it's a 6-episode show, but a lot of the episodes are less than 40 minutes long. They're barely 35, 36 minutes long. So you wouldn't necessarily expect, for that amount of money, such a huge fall off in just general production quality. It's just like, it doesn't, again, I've been watching it in 4K. It doesn't necessarily look bad to terrible or anything like that. Like, it looks good enough. I assume they're using digital cameras. It looks fine for TV shows as from that standpoint. But as I said already, again, I'm repeating myself, the quote unquote terror attack from earlier on in the season looked cheap, and we've had nothing but kind of very cheap to middling action slash, spectacle when it does happen infrequently ever since. And I mean, again, to reiterate, this show was made for somewhere between 50 and 100 million more than certainly a lot of the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones were made for. And I don't understand how or where the money went. I really, really don't. And so to say that this is even more of a damn squib in my view of a kind of a final episode, as what should we put it, as the last episode, the season final of season 3 of The Mandalorian, that had significantly more spectacle slash action in it than this episode did, this final episode did, and which you would expect Star Wars. But just like season 3 of The Mandalorian, where the rest of the season was for the most part an abject mess and the individual episodes were typically mediocre at best, this is none of the production value that season had, or nowhere near as much. And I didn't like the season 3 of The Mandalorian, but this is even worse. Like, it is better constructed than season 3 of The Mandalorian. Season 3 of The Mandalorian gives the impression of it being put together in a very kind of chaotic environment, resulting in a very kind of uneven, slapped together show. And this is more cohesive than that. It's, I think, better written, which might be due to a degree that there are at least, I think, the first two episodes of the season, maybe a bit more than that, are relatively long, 50 minutes, that kind of runtime, which meant they were able to get a good chunk of the story out of the way initially before the episode lengths fell off a cliff. But it's just, it doesn't have, it is, as I said, it's better. I think it's better put together from a writing standpoint, and just to have the episodes are put together. There's none of those annoying filler episodes you get in The Mandalorian. But as I've said before, this show is neither an intense thriller. It's not, with usually that all goes along with that to be a good thriller to attract the kind of audience that likes that. But it's not an action / spectacle fest either. And again, spoiler warnings for the episode. The last episode basically sees a big fight action sequence near the end, where you have the baddie scroll and the whose name I have forgotten. I think it starts with G. I can't remember, and I couldn't be bothered to look it up. And the remaining goody scroll, Talos's daughter, I think is called Gaia or something or whatever, but it also starts with a G, played by Daenerys Targaryen, whose actual name, though the actress I have also forgotten, and I'm not going to look it up now. It's basically, spoilers, they both go in the super machine to be made into super scrolls using all the DNA from all the Avengers plus one or two of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And then you get this prolonged-ish CGI fight sequence between the two of them using all of these different powers. Carol Danvers' powers, the Hulk's powers. I mean, they just Mantis's powers, they just went through, all of them during the course of this fight sequence. And eventually the baddie scroll gets beaten, he gets killed. But it's, again, in terms of the CGI, it's not bad, but it's not good either. And it doesn't come across as being particularly impressive. And there's not much, to my view, of spectacle in it. And what's particularly key about this is that, because there's again, it's neither, again, reiterating it, it's not a thriller of the kind, or good enough as a thriller to attract that kind of audience. But we've been made to wade through 6 episodes of this miniseries. And if you're here for the action and the spectacle, there's no real final payoff. Considering the lack of action overall in the show to date, this fight sequence at the end, is nowhere near good enough to make up for it. This is not Luke Skywalker, destroying those, what are they called again? Robot stormtroopers. I've forgotten their name. I apologize. Please let me know what it is in the comments. In the final episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, that doesn't happen. There's nothing like that here. So there's no final payoff at all for someone who's here for the spectacle, here for action, here for adventure. There's none of that. And so Marvel / Disney Plus have basically made us wade through 6 episodes of varying length. Again, I wouldn't consider them to be annoying, off the main story filler episodes, which you do get in The Mandalorian. And compared to season 3, it is much better written, but season 3 is a mess of The Mandalorian. But outside of that, I'm just repeating myself over and over again. This show, if it does know who it's for, I can't figure that out. It's spent 5 episodes wasting our time with no payoff. And now, because of the events in this episode, there's now a Super Skrull running about the place, played by the same actress who plays Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, who has got most, if not all, of the Avengers' powers, plus those of a couple of the baddies they've come up against to date. In other words, she's now effectively the most powerful character in the MCU. And like even to the point of like being, notionally more powerful than Superman, which is, you know, it just like this just upends everything if it transfers to the movies or just the rest of the universe as a whole. That you've now got this additional, because we've had a couple of new female characters added to the MCU via shows or movies over the last couple of years. Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, and the daughter of Carol Danvers' co-worker, whose name again escapes me. She's in WandaVision. And we've also got Ironheart as well, which is she's in the most recent Black Panther movie. And to me, in my mind, none of them have stuck. None of them have kind of really gotten any real presence in the kind of the mass consciousness, the way, with the possible exception of Wanda, in the way that, say, for instance, Wonder Woman has as a character in general. And that also includes Gal Gadot's version of the character. And yet, they've added another one who's this kind of ridiculous, super all-powerful character. How are they going to, like, are they, like, who's going to be, like, what's going to be her hero's struggle? How, if she ends up being a good guy, who's she going to go up against that would stand a chance against her? That is the danger with kind of overpowered characters, is that if they're ridiculously powerful, they can do it all. Then how, what's the challenge for them? What's the point of any other characters? This goes on. That's always been the danger with Superman. That's kind of a problem that he suffers from. Now, Warner Bros. I think I liked Zack Snyder's Man of Steel movie. I know there's a very significant Henry Cavill as Superman fan base out there who were very unhappy when he got booted after being, the DC movies have been a very uneven mess for quite some time. I've seen Joker. I thought certainly for a comic book movie that was excellent. I haven't seen the most recent Batman. I have to get around to seeing that. But outside of that, it's, again, you've got this new superpowered character with everyone else's power and his abilities are close to it, plus some of the bad guys' powers and abilities as well. What are you going to do with her? Are they going to pretend she doesn't exist when they get to the movies that are coming out in kind of the timeline after this show? Are they going to integrate her into it? How's that all going to work? Are they going to end up having to retcon a load of stuff? I would say overall that episode 6, which is effectively got to serve as the payoff for the previous 5 episodes, it's not the final episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and I'd say that the season 2 of The Mandalorian overall was stronger, a good bit stronger than this, and had a very clear audience for it: Star Wars fans, people who like action/spectacle. this fails miserably to get anywhere near the season 2 final of The Mandalorian, where Luke Skywalker turns up. There's no wow moments to my mind, no real significant spectacle. And they blew 200 million on this. 200 million. I don't understand, you know, could be yammering on about the money. But this, like, they've now spent 6 weeks wasting our time. If this does have any meaningful impact on the MCU as a whole, it's just throwing in unnecessary complication with this new additional female super character, super character, when so far the only female character the MCU is, or two female characters the MCU has come up with that really kind of got people's attention and built up a fan base. One was Black Widow, which they killed off in one of the weaker, in my view, MCU movies, and the other is Wanda Maximoff, who may be dead and she's not dead, but who knows, we'll see that character again. And the other female characters they've introduced, to my mind, haven't really made much of an impression at all. So, all in all, it's kind of, it's not as bad as season 3 of The Mandalorian. It's not as very badly made as the Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries was. And we do have Ahsoka coming later this year. Is that show debuting in August, or is it November or October? I don't know. I have to look that up. But so far, it's more kind of mediocre, bland at best, and for the most part, to out and out, badly made, badly put together shows on the other side. And again, I haven't seen Moon Knight, but this is, to my mind, the worst MCU show I've seen so far. Even if it is, again, better written, better put together than Mandalorian season 3, and it is better put together than, or / made, than Obi-Wan Kenobi, which was a train wreck. Anywho, this is DafubFilm&TV. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you, for some strange reason, haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. And please like the video to encourage me to produce more scintillating content like this. Oh, and if there's anything you'd like me to review, let me know in the comments. I might or might not review it. Toodaloo.